What's the matter, you? Hey, what do you gotta say? Hey, how you doing? How you doing, Lily? How you doing? I thought we could talk about the Titanic. The Titanic, a story of epic proportions, as well as the Titan. We shall speak of all of it. I say all of it because the Titan was two different things. All right, you with the face. Hey, baby, I'm wearing my shirt backwards. So if you see this, it's a tag. If you'd like to support the channel here, there's a PayPal, Ziva Mona Lisa at gmail.com. That'd be swell. So what's going on, man? If there's anything interesting you'd like to talk about, throw it in the comments. It's time for the news to use. I've been into been into some 80s stuff lately. A few days ago, I was into some 90s stuff. See, I go to do these things, these videos here, and I get excited and I don't realize how loud my environment is when I start, and then I'm recording and I'm like, wow, that's loud. Okay. So today I used a couple fun, fun. Doggone it all. I have been watching these shows, and one of them's like 90 Day Fiance or something, but everybody that goes on there looks like everybody that I see on anything anymore looks like an emoji. Nobody looks real. Everybody's eyes are weird. I got weird teeth. Yes, but I didn't choose this. You understand me? I didn't go out and buy something and say, hey, I want crazy teeth to look like a crazy person. I'm crazy enough. I don't want to pump my lips up, do some weird stuff with my eyes, put a whole bunch of stuff in my face, pump a bunch of botulism in my head. You know, what am I doing here? I don't know. I feel like everybody looks like emojis. And I'm like, I don't know. I want to call it the Kim Kardashian effect. I don't like it. I think that ever since that broad came out, being so materialistic and so jive and so full of crap, it's so self-centered, everything she does. I haven't seen one thing where she really did something for anybody. And somebody may say, hey, she's helping people with that, Innocence Project or whatever. Is she, though? Is she? Is she a lawyer? Why do they have a church in their name? What is going on? Why is there dude, we could talk all day about the Kardashians, couldn't we? We really could. So let's get back on topic. Anyway, I almost want to start over. Okay, so the channel I like for the Titanic situation, one was called Flashback Video, and the name of it was Titanic in the Survivor Stories. And one was a channel called Waterline Stories, which I love. Oh my goodness, this is a new channel to me. I've never seen it. See, when I grew up, my dad was a fisherman, and all of his brothers and everybody in the family fished. So actually, now that I think about it, I don't think I ever saw my aunts out there. I don't even think I saw my grandma ever fish. Oh my gosh, that is so insane. Actually, I don't remember my other cousins with me either. I know they had to go. We all had to go. It was brutal. It's like warm bologna sandwiches and cold beers and warm pops, and it sucked. Anyway, but I mean, as a kid, you don't really want to sit around with old people all day. Anyway, so this Waterline Stories, I really like it because, like I said, he was a fisherman, so we go on a boat. I was blessed. I got to go out on the lake a lot, so we went out on a few different lakes, but I always remembered thinking it's a lake, like it's safe. But my dad did tell me these lakes around here, they get really serious. So anytime there's a drowning situation, I really pay attention to it, especially in the ocean. I think it's nuts. I every time I think about it, I'm just like, wow. Like, you'll have one shipwreck where, you know, people are eaten by sharks, and then you'll have another shipwreck where nobody's eaten by sharks. And it's just so hit or miss, and it's just so weird. And then I think about, like, even where I live, there's places where there aren't people. So why wouldn't there not be sharks? I don't know. I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is I don't know. So Waterline Stories makes a bunch of really cool, this man just tells some stories, and it's just him basically it looks like him in the backdrop talking, but it looks like a library or something like that. He's not a bad looking guy either. He speaks well. I think he sounds like he's British a little bit. I'm not sure. I actually can't remember that part right now. Where did I go off on that? Oh, because I was watching somebody who's South American and lives in Australia. So, I don't know. It's just fascinating. I never want to go anywhere because I'm terrified of everything. But if I could, like, beam into somewhere, Australia would be tight. But there's so many snakes. Woo! You know what I'm saying? So he tells this story, but he tells many stories, actually. He told one. You wouldn't even believe this, child. Listen to this. I'm going to tell you right now. It's called the Sewell. S-E-W-A-L. And I think this is a ship out of North Korea. It was built in like 94, 96, around there. Had a different name, got sold, had some readjustments to it, and it was a passenger ship, but it's also a ferry, so it'll take you like from here to there. Are you serious? You're gonna do that? I put a fan on, so I'm gonna yell at the fan. The fan dropped out of the blue. Anyway, so there were high school students on there. There were cars. There was a lot of inventory, basically, to make money. So people paid them to carry this stuff over. There's something called ballast, B-A-L-L-I-S-T, in a ship that size. And it's kind of like just a weird flowy material to balance out everything. They emptied all those tanks and put stuff like cars and whatever the hell else they were carrying. So they did that. They also had a warning like 5 days before that there's something wrong with the steering. So they did that. And just like something, when the man who wrote the report on the steering, they said, shut your mouth or we're going to fire you. You're going to be in trouble. We got a lot of money, you know. He's like, oh, well then I'm going on vacation. I'm out of here. He took a vacation. So this other guy decides, I'm going to do this trip. Guy makes like $2,200 a week. It's really not that much for a ship captain. Anyway, so he takes these kids plus a lot of other passengers. It's a very nice ship, and the steering gets messed up. The ship automatically tilts to the side type situation. There's water coming up. They are telling the students and everybody, they're students and a handful of teachers, like 13 teachers. Oh my gosh, can you imagine being one of the teachers that volunteered to go on this trip to an island, and all those scared children in the high school? And the captain is saying, stay in your rooms, over the loudspeaker. And then the people, the crew are going door to door saying, don't get out, stay in your rooms. People are like, listen, I can't even walk on the floor. I'm walking on the wall right now. Do you understand me? I'm walking on the wall. Our shoes are sliding and they're not on our feet. There's something happening. Please let us out. And they're like, no, listen, if you get out, you're going to mess everything up. It's going to get so much worse. Do what we're telling you. Cut the crap. Oh my gosh. The first call to the Coast Guard was from a high school kid. So they already knew the S was hitting the fan, and they still were telling people no. And actually, the people that did get rescued from this nightmare were merchant ships, like privately owned ships, local fishermen, things like that. They got out there before the Coast Guard, before everybody. Man, what a waste. What a flippin' waste. It's so disturbing. I think it was like 305 people died that day. And it was all so avoidable. And that's why I when I watch these Waterline stories, you'll have to see it. That's one of the stories. And I think the headline was, he got paid to kill 305 people. I think that was the ship of the Seoul in North Korea. And this was in 2014. So, wow, do you believe that? So it's not just the greed and opulence of the Titanic. You'd think we'd learn our lessons. Will we ever learn our lessons? Not as long as there's money. It doesn't even have to be money. Anything that's of value. If today the world went into a tailspin where our currency became corn, or our currency became, gosh, can you imagine something so obscure? What if it was something like, what if it was like grass? I don't know why I want to say grass. And like blades of grass became like dollar bills, and then you couldn't find grass anywhere, and then pretty soon things wouldn't grow. Like, it just goes to show, like, people killing each other over grass or stone. You know, like, I'm just saying that money itself is so useless. Whatever the currency is what's important. And the fact that people will always kill somebody, will always lie, will always steal, is so bothersome. And these little kids, man, the fact that a high school boy, and here's the worst part, he drowned. And everybody had to watch the ship drown because of the way it tilted and fell. It made it impossible to get in. So there'd be this much of the ship on top, and everybody's down here drowning. And everybody's up there. I mean, they ended up having like 18 helicopters and crazy stuff like that, like subs and this and that. And like, I'm talking about crazy amounts of people to help. But it was already like 3 hours past the time that people that needed help should have got help. It was crazy. If you look at it, you're going to not believe it. Waterline stories. Fantastic. Fantastic. Man, I love finding a new YouTube channel. Every day I find, I'll look into something. I'll go, my gosh. And I'm so glad that we're talking about the Titanic today, because I find that when I'm thinking of something, I'll see it somewhere else. It usually comes in threes. I don't know why is 3 a thing? Like, I know that there's literally, like, can I stop it? I just said like while I said like, oh, Mamma mia, Papa Pia, Johnny got the diarrhea. I don't know, okay. Anyway, it's good stuff. So, I also liked another channel I also liked another channel called Naked Science. And this one was the Unsinkable Titanic. So, I did watch more than those 3 channels on this sitch. I also, read a little bit. Hey, you know me, I'm a genius. She's a genius. Why have I been doing this lately? Is it because I watched some Marilyn Monroe stuff? I think that was my favorite thing she's ever done, when she comes out there and hits that, like, bing, bing, let's do this. There was talk that Kelly's wife, that beautiful, perfect angel, said, this is all Robert's fault. This is all Robbie's fault, that piece of crap. So everybody was mad at Bobby because they knew it was his fault. They knew it was his fault that she was even there. And they were like, why are you doing this to me and my people? All right. Whew. Okay. What am I talking about? One of our family members here, Heidi 007, my sister, literally, typically, no, I don't know. We gotta really get rid of that literally. It's part of the Kardashian syndrome or whatever. I called it, the Kardashian effect. See? You just told me. I forgot. No, you told me. Any Hoosiers, we were saying transplanes and automobiles because, she was saying like great outdoors because I was saying that guy got his 66 times. So, like, this fly is flying around this light. Amy Lee gonna have to swipe a bitch. What the hell? Why do you make me do all this killing all the time? I'm running around with moles and kitchen towels and birds and working things back to life, and the flies too gotta get involved. They gotta kick it up a notch. Why they gotta be like that? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to think here and use my noggin. Hey, and I got you flying around here looking like, now you disappear. See, I'm bitching and the fly actually left. Maybe, well, I'm talking about stuff. What's the difference? I don't know. Yes, I'm using a normal cup. I don't like it. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. Only when I sit here do I feel like Sweet Fancy Moses is a ton of roses. So, my movie recommendation is going to be Transplanes and Automobiles. I bet you thought it was Titanic. That was extremely Jewy and pretty obnoxious, and I enjoyed it. I need to know that I do not have a fuzzy on my lip, and I need to stop thinking about it because I'm very sidewindered by the old fuzziolas. And so that is made in 1987, by the way. Or, not made, it came out 1987. The song, Every Time You Go Away, by Paul Young, was released in 85. That is also my music recommendation. It was number 1 in the United States of America, and it was number 4 in the UK. Here's a little nugget. Get out your sauce packets. It was originally recorded in 1980, sung and written by Hall & Oates. Oh, Hall and Oates. It's Hall and Oates. Do you remember on Family Guy? What was it? She said something about, she was like, his wife was like getting it on with Hall, and then she said, but I'm not going to really make out with Oates. Not really going to do Oates. I liked that when she like flipped out, stole a bunch of stuff, and took a cigarette. I was like, yeah, I'm okay, all right. That's how it's going to be today, ma'am. She riding that high, stealing them there garments. So, channels, music, movie, check. I do like that. Every time you go away. I love him. You know why? Because he wore like a Paul Revere suit and he ran across the stage. That's all I remember in that video. That video could have been so much more. That song was so good. I remember back in the 80s and 90s and today when I was like watch videos and they'd show concerts and I'd be like, put the movie parts on. You know what I mean? Like there was a movie called She's Having a Baby and it was Kevin Bacon, Elizabeth McGovern? Is that it? Montgomery? I don't know, but I loved it. And it had a really good song in it. And sometimes it would show like the people singing the song in concert. There was like 2 versions of it of the video, and sometimes it would just show like the movie parts. And I always want to just see the movie parts. I don't want to see the other stuff. I'm not interested. Today's American Sign Language, we're going to do friend. The thing about this is if you do it too fast, it's hard to tell what somebody just did. Now you got 2. Did I do this the other day? I can't remember now. You got this guy over here, he's saying, hey, who are you? And you got this guy over here saying, hi, how are you? Hi, how are you? So you're going to take them like this, make it like a cross, put them there, so, like this. You're going to go this way and this way. So American Sign is friend. It's hard it's hard to understand what's happening when you see it fast. But since I've been doing the American Sign Language with y'all, I would also like to kick it up a notch because I've been doing this channel and in the depths of serious sadness at times, I have not been doing my French. My Francoise. And when I would do the French, I'd also dabble in some over here. Russian, maybe. This over here. Let's go to Italy. You know what I'm saying? So I'd look around and see. I wouldn't taste and see, which is a Catholic thing. Taste and see. Taste and see. Every time I have to say taste and see, oh my goodness. The hells of fury. I don't go to church for a few reasons, and one of them being taste and see, because it's a stupid hymn written about taking communion, and I flippin' hate it, and it's so stupid. And with all this hate in my heart, how am I going to walk in there without blowing in the flames? I don't know. So in French, the word friend is ami, which is my name, Amy, Amelia, beloved, Amy, friend, Emir. And then in German, Freundin. So it's Freundin. So it's Freundin. I didn't know that one. Everybody always thinks amigo, Spanish, but I thought, let's just stick it out of the box. Let's do some German. Did you ever watch Angie Tribeca? It's one of my favorite shows ever made. Dun, dun, dun. And the man who makes it is the guy from the American version of The Office. You know, that's what she said. You know, 40-year-old version. I can't say version. I can't say it. Version. There's another person that I noticed that struggled with that. It was on Housewives of Dallas. And he goes, why don't you tell us what, if you got on a bull ride? And she goes, oh, I'm afraid of bulls. Every time I've seen a bull, I said, oh. And he goes, okay, how would you say bowl? Like a bowl of oatmeal. She's like, bowl. And he goes, okay, what about bull? Say bull. And she goes, bull. Girl. And that's how I am with version. I cannot distinguish. Sometimes I just want to like shoot off like, remember in Saturday Night Fever, Saturday Night Fever is what they mocked. It was Airplane, the first one, and then he just like busted out. I almost threw out my shoulder just now. See, I'm old, you hear, I'm old. Remember the American old. Okay, so, our medical terminology today, thought I'd have some fun with it. Since the Titanic, the first thing I always think of, is that horniness, actually, and boners, because of that stupid sex stuff. Why did they have to do that? There's so much going on, James Cameron. Do we have to have a naked girl and somebody being like, me? Ooh. Ugh. Like, get out of here with this shit. So, anyway, to just piggyback off of that, let's do this. Kerat, which is a fun blend because it kind of sounds like carat, like a 9-carat diamond or whatever that whore was wearing in that sea. With all them kerats. But this is a kerat meaning like keratin, like in your nails, as hard, horny surfaces It also refers to the cornea of the eye. What was that? No, it was this. Okay. All right. So now for the real news to use, I understand. So Trump got... Someone else tried to kill Trump. What the hell's taking everybody so long? I know I look fat in this shirt, damn it. I just saw it too. Is it possible to look fat and be thin? That is the question. Now it bothers me that my shirt's on backward. I gotta say it's bothering me. I'm struggling. I'm struggling inside myself. Damn it. Trump got a second assassination attempt. For crying out loud. Is this man titanium built? So they caught the guy. Ironically, he actually voted for Trump, so there was that. He said he's getting too out of hand, so he decided to kill him. The guy's a felon. He's got like an M16 or something like that. Some kind of crazy rifle. So that's lots of fun. Casey Anthony came back up on the news again because she ruined a 20-year marriage as a mistress. What? Stop. Casey Anthony? No, not Casey. Casey's a good girl. She didn't want to go party and take her baby and put it in a trunk and put duct tape on her mouth so no one hears her yell, and just figured I'm just going to go bust some jazzy wiggles up here in this here bar for a little bit, have a good time, take a couple paparazzi pics up of myself and my friends. When I feel real sad, I'm going to look at them and think I killed my daughter. But, now she supposedly ruined a 20-year marriage. To that, I say, no shit. And then this dumbass comes out and goes, oh, she's innocent. She never did anything. She's such a good person. Shut up. My goodness gracious. Don't make me slap you, sensible sir. I'll slap that dick right off. I'll do one of those bobbits by the hand. Yeah! I'm not going to karate you, but I'm going to yell like I'm in karates. Karates? Okay. So that's fun. Also, news to me's, twos. There's a red telephone box graveyard. Did you know that? For nostalgic reasons, of course. Those red telephone boxes in the UK, they've got an actual graveyard for them. And they're from, the telephone booths themselves are from the UK, Gibraltar, Bermuda, and Malta. Not Malta meal, Malta. And I'd say more, but I ain't never heard of it. So, yeah. Did I look it up? No. Am I gonna go to this here cemetery for this here's red telephones and whatnot? No. Is it dumb and weird? Yeah, I don't mind it so much. If you're gonna throw them away, why not look at them? Who cares? How much bacteria, DNA, fingerprints is going on in those things? You want to set somebody up for murder? Take one of those key kits and whatever you got to do and get up in there and have a good time. My God, did they even clean those out? What about when COVID hit? Did they clean those out? Are you allowed in them? What the hell are we doing here? Does it cost money to see them? All right, do they need maintained? If it's a graveyard, it's going to need grounds. So Mary Lou Henner came up because she was actually the narrator for the flashback video of the memories of the Titanic victims. And remember the other day I was talking about, somehow she came up. I said Mary Lou Henner, the lady from Taxi, the redhead from Taxi, because I always forget her name. And then I was thinking about the name Mary Lou. Hello, Mary Lou. Goodbye, heart, sweet Mary Lou. I'm so in love with you. So there was like a rash of Mary Lou's from all the teeny boxers who listened to that music, got knocked up and named their daughters Mary Lou. So there was like Mary Lou Retton. It was popular back when Mary Lou, doggone it, Mary Lou Henner was popular. So I don't know why I forget her name all the time. In fact, I think I had a Cabbage Patch doll named Mary Lou. Anyway, once again, that 30-day diet book, like I said, it came out in like the early 2000s, late 90s, I'm not sure, but she had a few of them. This one has a blue cover. She's standing on the cover like, you've been eating wrong. And she does like explain, what is with this here fan? I'm going to turn you off. I'm turning you off. Now it's like silent and deadly. I can hear real birds outside being birds. Is it fair that they could be a bird and here I am talking about things that are dead and not flying? I don't know, maybe. So anyway, so that's a good book. You'll like to learn how to diet. Wrong word. Don't call it a diet. It's just to eat correctly. It's a way of eating. I don't know. You hear so much crap with these things. You'll hear like, oh, I have a type O blood and I only eat broccoli and carrots. I'll say, okay then, but really? Okay. That's what you're going to do. All right. You know, I didn't slurp it, but I'm planning to. I'd also like to point out in the news to use Muppet Babies. Do you remember the Muppet Babies? They debuted in September 1984. So, isn't that fun? What is that, 30 years? God, how old am I? Is that 40? That's 40 years ago, the Muppet Babies? I was too cool for the Muppet Babies, and I'm letting you know right now, I still am. I never liked the Muppet Babies. I don't like anything where you take a version of something successful, added baby styles. No. And anytime even a show pops out a baby. No. You know it's going downhill when a baby shows up. It's like, oh, great, now a baby shows up. Here's the thing. Being pregnant's funny. The baby, not so much. Diddy got indicted. Woohoo! What took you so long? You know, for blackmail, SA, trafficking, racketeering, assault, all that fun stuff. So the rifleman was 400 yards away. My gosh. Are they even trying to keep this guy safe? I don't know. It seems pretty crazy. It seems like it'd be pretty easy to go crazy and be mad at Trump, so I don't understand why. I don't know. The Deets. Oh, that felt like really good. Kind of like the Munsters. Okay. Boy, I love that song. I just realized, shit, I keep too much up in there. I gotta write down things I can't remember from 20 minutes ago because I got that thing rattling in my head. Well, doggone it all. You know, really, seriously, what is that doing there? When was that? That was like, it was black and white. I wasn't even born when that was made. Why am I thinking that? Alright, let's talk about these Deets. Cutting some rugs of Deets. I'm gonna dance all over this place with Deets. I'm gonna do this, do that, do it with Deets. I'm gonna tell you this, do that, and I'm gonna do it with Deets. I just puffed on that like I was old man Gallagher down at the station. All right. Okay. The Unsinkable ship, you hear? Floating palace, ship of dreams. 4 days into the trip, 1,500 dead. You'll have that. And, you know, when I want a nice trip, I'm like, 3 days, 4th day, dead? Sign me up. So, the Unsinkable ship. Once again, let's start out with saying these jerk-offs did so many cutting corners, crapiola. It's not. Like that boat I told you about, I think they had like 83 tons of marble in it. For what? You're taking out that ballast that is necessary, and then you're adding marble? Are you crazy? Get out of here. All right. So what I'm saying is the greed of mankind just over and over and over and over. Here's the thing. My opinion with this shipwreck, and it's not really just my opinion, it's a fact. When they made the boat, because they wanted the staircase so grand and so amazing, they made it so big that it put a degree, like I think it was a 90-degree shape that changed things. Since it changed it, they needed to take the steel, what's the word? Let's just say sheets, and rivet it with, instead of using steel rivets, they used an iron mix. They needed hand done, and 2 people died during the making of this ship. I think there was like 249 injuries. The point is that, oh, also neat fact, they used like, what, 250 pounds? Doggone it. Don't do the numbers. Don't do the numbers. You know better. Leave that fact. Leave that deep. Leave it on the floor. Don't touch it. Leave it. Okay, stick to what you're doing. The point is, the rivets, and because of the expansion of the stupid stairway that nobody gives a shit about. Yes, it's pretty, but now it's on the basement floor, so. The basement floor of the sea. Under the sea. Under the sea. Hey, I really flippin' hate this song, man. Is it bad to hate a crab named Sebastian? I don't know, but I do. I don't like that Sebastian. The only Sebastian I like is a young boy of 4 years old I like to call Diabeto. And that young man would put his leg in my door for candy, and that's why he is Diabeto. I hope little Diabeto's doing good now. I wonder how old Diabeto is nowadays. He's probably 17. So, because it hit the iceberg in such a way, if they would have hit the iceberg dead on, it would have made it. But because they didn't, scraped along the sides, yeah, it was that weird 90-degree angle, the rivets all busted. The rivets were probably busting already. You know, this was like the fourth day. Okay, so they also, hand by hand, and only men, would put 600 tons of coal dust a day into the boilers, and 100 tons of ash into the ocean every 24 hours. I cannot comprehend that number. That is awful. That is disgusting. 600 tons of coal dust. Wow. Whew. They said that all the men, absolutely every single engineer and the men doing the coal, they all died. they stayed there doing that coal till that ship went down because they wanted to keep the lights on for the people in the ship trying to get in the lifeboats. Man, every year on the day that the shipwreck happened, I'm not sure if it's who does it, but there are wreaths released over the ocean in that area to honor those men. Obviously to honor everybody, but really it's for those men specifically because nobody really thinks about those guys. One of those men was a murderer. He had just gotten out of prison for like strangling his wife, I think. And he becomes one of these guys and goes down with the ship. How crazy. I was reading a lot of stuff about this. And some people were like, well, is it possible for those men to have lived when this went down? For it to be as hot as that was in that room with that fire, the water as cold as it is, I think it all imploded. Like one of those situations. That's not a bad way to die. You know, when I tell you about the Titan, the submersible, and that stuff, and it did implode because it was made of carbon, and it was made of carbon fiber. But they don't make subs of carbon fiber. You can't use every. So anyway, we'll get to that, but I don't know where I was going with that. But basically, they're saying anything below a certain depth will implode, and it's really just crazy that. Anyway. So yeah, you got to realize that too. I mean, you got 28-degree water, which is 4 degrees below freezing. And then you've got this crazy, crazy hot furnace over here with coal dust. 9 to 1,600 degrees of fire. So Captain Smith didn't want to fill all the rescue. Okay, so Captain Smith, the man in charge, that is famously known for going in the room where the wheel is, in the wheel room where you steer the boat and decide where things are. Shut the door and went down with the ship. He didn't order anybody to get in any boats until the rescue ships came. That was his position. That's also what took so long. I'd also like to point out, I gotta start marking these because I'm going to get confused. I'd like to point out that he was a power ship captain, not a steam ship captain. He was known as the millionaire's captain. The millionaires that were on this ship were specifically because he was the captain. That's all they'd go with. Well, here's the thing, man. You're used to him being the captain of power boats. This is a steamboat. It is completely different. If you don't know what you're doing, it's 0-0. So, it's just crazy to me. It's, when you think about all the factors. All the factors. I think there was something else about the moon. I can't even think of the moon without thinking about Pee Wee Herman. And the moon was in line with Venus. Do you have something you'd like to share with the rest of us, Amazing Larry? You know, like that. But, okay, so I guess the moon was, like, not in that position since 729 AD. Like, it was something crazy, like 849. You know I don't got those number deeds. I'm not going with the numbers, but it was something nuts like that. So even the tides were off. Like, everything was off. He went, like, 15 nautical miles out of the way to avoid other ice situations that he knew about. So it's like kind of weird. It was a perfect storm. Oh, by the way, if you want to know the true story of the perfect storm, look on that thing I was telling you about, the Waterline stories. He does it on that too. Remember they released that? Was that George Clooney? Marky Mark, Wahlberg, and they go up that huge. They had 100-foot waves. Oh my gosh. I would crap a solid brick float off on it because, man, it's over. That's curtains, man. I don't know. How the heck do you even... I can't even imagine. Every time I think about a shipwreck, I just freak out. The first class swimming pool was above all the coal furnaces too. So there was like something about, somebody said something along the lines, you know, there's always conspiracy theories. One of them is the ship really got screwed because there was a fire in the coal room. If there was a fire in the coal room, the fires would have been at 900 to 1600 degrees Fahrenheit. And it would have boiled the water in the pool, so that's incorrect. So take that one out of there. The California, the ship that, was it the California? I want to say yes. There's so many degrees of greed in this situation. It's unflippin' believable. Not only were there, like I said, I read a lot on these things when I do this. I watch a lot. The Deets are always off in the numbers with all of this stuff. From here to there. Some people said 5, some people said 6. Now I lost my place in life. I forgot what I was talking about again. Doggone it, 5, 6. I'll come back to it. I'll remember it again. I'll come back to it. $7 million to make. By 2030, the bacteria shall eat the remains of the boat and be completely gone in a century. They actually named a bacteria after this specific kind of bacteria that will eat the steel of this ship. And it is called Holomanus Titanicae. So that's Tinacae. So, named a new rust-eating bacteria will eat the rest in 20 years, they expect. The water temperature was 28 degrees, 4 degrees below freezing point. The Last Supper to the first class patrons were 11 courses. I'm just going to start reading some deets and have fun. First class also. The first class, I feel like I got people texting me. The first class patrons, or whatever you want to call them, I don't know what to say. I'm just going to say first class because I got nothing. If I try to think of those deets, I'm going to forget these actual deets that I'm reading. They were all given song books. So there was 352 song books, like hymn books, given to all the first class passengers. That group of musicians, they had to memorize all of those songs. So any first class passenger, I gotta write that name down, passenger, could walk up to these musicians and ask for one of those songs to be played. They could open up their booklet and point to anything, go, I want to listen to Taste and See. And they'll go, oh, Taste and See. And there you have it. Isn't that nuts? You know, I'm not a musician, but I played music. I played the flute, French horn, and because I got taught those two things, I could play a lot of brass and a lot of woodwinds. My brother, on the other hand, is a musician, so it's crazy to think. I remember when we were in the band, and we would have to play all this jive music, and I was always like, can we play something that somebody knows? I mean, we're playing these, we'd have concert band, and then we'd hit like a symphonic band, and then we'd have a marching band. And it was just like, geez Louise, this is nuts. It's so boring. I cannot imagine how many boring songs they had to learn and memorize for any time a first-class passenger tap you on the shoulder and ask for Taste and See. All right. Oh, I want to tell this really neat story, okay? So there's lots of stories about the passengers. There's actually two books of just passengers' recollections of what happened in their personal experience, okay? Now, if you've ever had anything bad happen to you, or even if you've ate too much food of something, you never want to eat it again, you know? You eat too many baked beans and then you throw up and you say, I'm good on that. Why did I bake baked beans? My teeth are coming tomorrow, by the way. I thought I was getting them late. Wrong. All right. So anyone who wanted to return to Europe, by the way, if they survived this terrible experience, had to go back on a ship. But of course, there was one who suffered at sea more than everybody else. Her name was Violet Jessup. Listen to the story. You will crap your pants. I love this. Okay, I read this on Quora. Quora. I'm sure you know, but still. All right. Violet Jessup was a stewardess on the Olympic. It collided with the Hawk in 1911. Transferred to the Titanic. She was on board during the sinking. So now she's been on three boats that sunk. Ordered to leave the ship and care for a baby, she escaped in a lifeboat. She was 16. The baby also survived and was handed to the mother on the Carpathia. Finally, a volunteer nurse, she again faced a sinking along with 2 other Titanic survivors as the now hospital ship Britannic either hit a mine or was sunk by a submarine. Violet was in a lifeboat that drifted into the still turning propellers and had to abandon that ship, receiving a blow to the head. She was, though, saved along with all but 30 of the 1,000 passengers and crew. After World War I, she went back to the sea and not retiring until 1950. Is that nuts or what? I think I also saw on a different Quora thing that she was actually accused of treason in the German war also. So that's a nut. That is so nutty. When I think about, can you imagine just being like, oh, well, so how many times did this woman face death? I love that. I love that. That's really cool. All right. Another cool deed that I thought of this. I'm like, how many animals were on board this thing? So, once again, these numbers don't make sense. Some forums say there were boat cats because of the rats, obviously. There were boat cats. Rats are very common in ship hulls or whatever. The cats got off at the last stop. Just blew snot out of my mouth. Out of my mouth. The cats got the hell off. The cats and the rats got out of there, okay? Whoever heard of such a thing? The cats and rats were like, deuces, yo. I'm out, yo. I ain't got some good vibes to use. I got to go, honey. I feel like you was going to hit something that was made like billions of years ago and whatnot. My gosh, okay? So, some of them said there were 3 dogs saved. Some of them say there were 2 dogs saved. The pictures of the dogs saved when it was 3, they all look like pit bulls and bulldogs. The picture of the actual dogs that were saved, one was one was a Pekingese and one was a Pomeranian. So, it's just so bizarre. So, none of the cats were saved, basically, because they all got the hell out of there. They didn't need saved. The cats were like, I'm Gucci, okay? Beat it, scream, I'm out of here. You guys are crazy. You're going to go hit at something and kill us all. But the dogs were like, oh, landing courses, first class. I think only first class was allowed. I didn't ask. I didn't like that one up. I do wonder. I didn't ask that yet. I didn't ask that. Bodies were found vertically in the water. You know, if you ever did see anything, I mean, when we think of being in the water, we're thinking of swimming, and you're like horizontal. But with life vests, you would be you would be vertical. Was it Jaws that he said when his ship World War II got shut down in the water, and the sharks were coming around, and the men were wearing the life vests. He dapped somebody and said, "Hey, you okay?" And he turned around and he was half eaten. Like that is how I imagine people now for the rest of my life. So most of the people died of exposure, not necessarily for drowning, even because of the water being so cold and whatnot. Water was freezing. The grand staircase that really began all this crap was 7 out of the 10 decks. That's fascinating. I think or believe there's 6 of that left. Don't quote me on that. Oak paneling, bronze cherubs. There were only 23 women on the whole crew. It took 20 horses to carry down the main anchor to the ship to finally complete it. How cool is that? 20 horses. I wonder if they were Clydesdales. I always see Clydesdales when I see people carrying heavy things. You know, draft horses. Those are real big. Because I have Amish here in Ohio, we see draft horses. They're enormous. They are no joke. There were 20,000 bottles of beer, 1,500 bottles of wine, and 8,000 cigars only for the first class passengers aboard. How cool is it? The gates between the classes were locked. There's been a lot of discussion that the gates on the third class passengers were always locked and never opened. But I also saw in something else that they said more women were saved because most of them came from the third class as well, because more women lived from the third class than lived from the first class men. That's what it said. And then I also saw something that said if you did get out of that third class, it was like a never-ending weird ravine of small halls to even get out. So you'd kind of have to know where you were going. It was very hard to find things. Now imagine this also. People were so low-key about this crap that they went back to bed. Because this happened at like midnight. They went back to bed. Can you imagine? Wake up and there's like water in your cabin. Are you shitting me? Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, Sword. Doggone it. So it took 20 minutes to assess all the damage. By midnight, all the answers were in. So they could have gone and unlocked those gates and they didn't. It took 22 tons of soap. See, that's a deed I was looking for earlier. 22 tons of soap. Hashtag beef, mutton, and fat. Beef, fat, and mutton. Smeared to slip the way to the river. So when they made the boat and they wanted to put it down that thing, that's what they put on it. Animal fat. How crazy is that? It said tons of soap. Okay, well, that's how soap is made, so. 30 seconds would have made all the difference, they said. So if they would have just said, hey, I see it 30 seconds before they said it, nobody would have died. That's nuts. I don't know how they come up with that. Obviously through the, they were saying like they were going 26 knots at full speed. That the ocean was a glass surface. And because it was so still, that it makes it harder to see an ice. I actually forget the name. An iceberg. Because there's not water splashing. The white water splashing around it, you don't see that when they're still. Also, I do believe there was no moon. You couldn't see the moon or stars. There was something like, it was like an hour before they'd seen a star or something like that too. I don't want to be, don't quote me. So, the woman who survived, the youngest woman who survived was only a few months old because she was born in 1912. But coincidentally, she was the oldest survivor. Isn't that neat? She was the youngest saved and the oldest to die. She was 98, I think. I want to say Millie. She died in 2009. Millie Dean. She has a bigger name, but I like calling her Millie. You survivor, oldest lived. The wreck discovery was at the exact time the liner sank. When the Titanic wreckage was found, it was found on accident because the naval forces were looking for 2 nuclear subs that went down during the Cold War. And because they were looking for these subs, they were looking for them for a few reasons, obviously. They wanted to see if they were hit and what they were hit with. And they wanted to get their nuclear stuff back, you know. I want my nuclear weapons back. I want my nuclear cube of whatever makes this work and be a nuclear sub. I want it back. I want it all back. I want to know where it was. So isn't that weird? This is 73 years later. Was it 70? Don't know. Don't say numbers, damn it. But so because our naval forces were looking for those 2 subs, those nuclear subs, they ran across this. And so it was at the same time that it sank. How nuts is that? They did look for this, and I'll give you those deets in a minute. So the SOS sent loads of ICE reports. There were so many ICE reports that the kid doing the messages turned them off. He not only turned them off, but he actually told the closest ship to shut up. One might say, geez, Aim, I don't know if he did that. There were only reports of 5 to 6 messages coming in. Here's where I'm going to say agreed again. Now, these men, from the looks of it, it seemed like there were 2 wireless messages, like SOS, all that shit. That's how things got sent. There was no Wi-Fi. There was no internet. It was deet, 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 deet. Okay, so this guy, the men who were the wireless messengers were not paid by the ship. They were not paid by that company. They were paid by another way. And one of the ways they were paid is by the first class passengers per message. They were making money. Why would you want to deal with all this? I don't want to deal with all these other... I got stuff to do. I got a stack of messages here. We're going to make some bank. Let's just get through this. I can't get through this. I keep getting all this other messages. What the heck? Shut up! So even when they sent off the flares to the Corinthian that they told to shut up, they thought they were just being ignorant rich people blowing off fireworks. So they didn't even care. And once they told that other wireless man to shut up, he turned off his equipment and went to sleep. So yeah, the men were doing that because I think there were 2 men. One was called a junior, so there must be a senior. So a senior and a junior. And I think they slept in the same room that they were doing those messages to and took turns and stuff. Because one would have to, for example, when there's these ICE messages, they get a special moniker on the envelope and it has to go directly to the captain. And that's the rule. So one of them had to run the messages and do all that. It's just so nuts. The California operator went to bed because he got told to shut up about the distress calls. The lifeboats. Okay, so we never really think about these things. Oh, the lifeboats, the numbers of the lifeboats, why weren't there lifeboats, blah, blah, blah. Okay, once you get into lifeboats, now what? Now what? We're in the lifeboats. What is in the lifeboat? Okay? All the lifeboats on the Titanic were provisioned with a water beaker and a tin of biscuits. So it had some crackers and a water bottle. When it says water beaker, that would be a glass bottle of water, wouldn't it? Because it'd have to be fresh water. And even when one of the passengers on the Titanic was a perfume salesman, and he had like these extremely rare bottles of samples that were specific and really expensive and really awesome, and he had them, and when the ship went down, he bailed, and those sunk. When they found the ship, they found the bottles, and they were still intact with the scents in them, the perfume, the original scent, and everything. It was sealed perfectly. They were, you know, the rubber stopper and the glass bottles. So that means that there was a glass water bottle and a tin of biscuits. The boats themselves could seat 63 to 68 people. A water beaker and a tin of biscuits. Let's think. If a water beaker, when I think of beakers, I think of Beaker from the Muppets. I think of beaker, but then I think of like a beaker as in a triangle shaped situation. So why? But then I think of old ship stories and old things, and I think of them with the jug, like an old, you know, whiskey jug, like a big jug, like XXX jug. So I'm thinking, like, is that a beaker? That gallon jug? Like, that jug would be the water beaker? That's interesting. So also there would be life jackets, right? They didn't say that, but I would assume there'd be life jackets on the boats themselves. So when it sunk in 1,300 feet of water. It split in two, a third mile apart from each other. A single breath of air at 473 Kelvin would kill you. So they were saying that, again, with the men down in the engineer room, that if it did catch on fire, firefighters say if you even take a single breath of 473 Kelvin air will kill you automatically. It'll blow up your lungs. So the amount of firepower that was in that room at that time, when it did blow up, nobody would have lived through that. So nobody could live through that. 75 years to find the shipwreck. So it was found in 85. 12 miles south and 18 miles east of its last position of the wreckage. So even though it wrecked and broke in half and all this crap, so it was 12 miles south and 18 miles east of that area even. So it's 13,000 miles deep of ocean it was on, and then that happened too. So the stern imploded. Picture taken of the iceberg. Oh, this is cool. So somebody, within days of this terrible thing happening, they didn't know that because the information didn't travel like it does now. And they passed the same iceberg and they took a photo of it because it was odd. Why was it odd? It had a red paint streak all along the side of it from the Titanic tanker. Isn't that nuts? So somebody actually took a picture of it and was like, isn't that a weird thing? Isn't that a weird glacier? And they were like, oh, hey! The first class men survived than third class children. So more first class men survived than the third class children. That's a weird thing to hear, because didn't they also say that more third class women survived than first class men? Well, I guess not everybody has to have a baby. God. Women couldn't get a dog in here's another story. One of the women wanted to take her dog in the boat, in one of the safety boats, and they told her no. And she said, then if he can't go, then I'm not going. And they found her body dead, clutching the dog in the water. It's nuts. It's nuts. The lifeboat regulation was blamed, but it was the materials. Really. All of it. Okay, I gotta tell you this right now while I say that. I didn't know this fact. I did not know that the men in the crow's nest watching for the icebergs did not have binoculars. Some hullabaloo happened, and one of the men that had the key to the cabinet that had the binoculars in it left. Packed his suitcase, got up, and left. So nobody opened the cabinet and gave anybody binoculars. Some of the first class men, captain, like in the captain's area, the high class dudes had a few. But that's it. So that means that the men who had to watch for the icebergs because there's no sonar like that, and these guys are watching this and they can't see because it's so cold, and they can't see because it's a glassy night with no stars out, and they can't see because there's not binoculars. Hey man, I'm not the smartest person on the planet, but I would bust that damn cabinet open. Quiche me. I don't give a crap. What's it made of? Let's open it. Are you serious that nobody had binoculars because somebody has a key? Get the hell out of here. All the way out. All the way out. Nobody has binoculars to see icebergs because somebody got fired and left. Get the heck out of here. Oh, sorry guys. He took the key. This is why I can't keep a job, because if somebody told me, I'd be like, okay, I got all my stuff for my job. Where's my binoculars? They'd be like, oh yeah, Joe was a jerk. He took the key. You believe that crap? Oh, no kidding, but where's the binoculars? Yeah, so nobody has binoculars now. No, nobody has them. That's when I would say, give me a hatchet, give me a knife, give me a hammer, and I'm going to open that shit whether I got to catch it on fire or not, because I need those doggone binoculars, and I wouldn't be able to catch it on fire. Actually, that would ruin my binoculars. You're telling me a whole crew of people, nobody thought, let's just open it anyway? It's probably a homemade cabinet made of oak or something. Probably had some like pretty gold menageries on it or whatever, but how stupid. Swimming in near freezing water. Hypothermia. Oh, you get hypothermia in a half an hour. Somebody said something about 20 minutes. Like after 20 minutes, you'd kick it. And doggone if I didn't see on every single thing about the chef who lived in 2 hours of the water because he's a drunk piece of shit. So just keep that in mind. So what? Some alcoholic cook, the baker or whatever, he lived for 2 hours when everybody died because he was like 90% alcohol. Somebody was actually like, and this is my favorite guy. How cool. No, what's so cool about it? He lost his mind and got drunk and he lived longer. So great. Way to go. Oh, and then they were like, after this, they had a lot of court cases and stuff. And they're like, well, who's to blame? Like, are we going to blame the captain? Nah, we're not going to blame him. He went down with the ship. We're going to blame Bruce Ismay, the guy who did all this stuff and insisted on making all these changes and really basically killed everybody over greed and then saved himself and got on a lifeboat. Are we going to blame him? No, let's not blame him. Let's blame the guy who saw the iceberg. Let's blame him. I keep somebody who's good with icebergs and ice is like, stop saying iceberg, stop saying this, stop saying that, because I'm probably interacting galaxy. I have to pee so bad. The world record dive with the breathing compressed air is 156 meters deep. Usually at 66 meters deep, oxygen begins to be toxic. I'm going to stop it right there and do part 2. Love you.